I'm Katie Couric. British police say they've broken up a gruesome terror plot. The suspects were allegedly planning to torture and behead a British Muslim soldier and show it all on the internet. Also tonight, what happened to the $21 billion all you taxpayers shelled out to rebuild Iraq? The auditor's report is out, and you're not going to like it. Joe Biden enters the presidential race and trips at the starting line. And women and air pollution. What we breathe may be hurting our hearts.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Hi, everyone. Are terrorists changing their tactics? British police said today they stopped an attack that involved not a bombing, but a kidnapping. The target was to be a British Muslim soldier. The police say the terrorists planned to behead him, then post a video of it on the internet. Reports in Britain say it was all an attempt to blackmail Prime Minister Tony Blair to pull British troops out of Iraq. Mark Phillips tells us 9 suspects are under arrest tonight after a series of raids.
The raids came before dawn in Britain's second biggest city of Birmingham, a place with a large and long-established Muslim population. Police moved in on 8 separate locations spread across the city, arresting 8 people in these raids and 1 more later. They'd been watching the suspects for 6 months. Suspect security sources say were planning a kidnapping and murder. The clear intent, though, was terror. Apparently inspired by the capture and execution of Westerners in Iraq, widely publicized on the internet, the Birmingham suspects are alleged to have planned to kidnap a British soldier, possibly even a Muslim one, who had returned home after serving in Iraq, kill him, and release the video of the murder on the web. If true, it's a new terror tactic and a potentially effective one.
It would be, from the terrorist point of view, a very cheap and effective tactic to create more uncertainty and anger, I think, within British society.
The suspects are now being questioned by police and several business premises examined by forensic experts. A kidnap plot isn't like a bomb plot, and the evidence could be a lot more subtle.
We are literally right at the foothills of what is a very, very major investigation for us.
This operation, though, is a risky one. Police have made high-profile arrests of Muslims suspected of ambitious terror plots before, only to have to let the suspects go when the intelligence proved wrong. If they can't make this one stick, they risk further alienating an already suspicious community. The alleged plot may have been foiled this time, but it opens up a new, sinister front in Britain's war against homegrown terror. Mark Phillips, CBS News, London.
The kind of homegrown terror Mark just mentioned has led to a lot of soul-searching in Britain. Why would people there want to attack their own country? And as Elizabeth Palmer reports, the alleged plot may be just the beginning.
Tonight, 9 new terrorism suspects may be in custody. But Britain's Secret Service says it has at least 30 active terrorist plots and 1,600 suspects currently under surveillance. Many British Muslims believe that's an overreaction.
Every other day, mate, there's a raid.
But even those who think anti-terrorism operations unfairly target Muslims have to admit there's a persistent problem. The London bombings in July 2005 that killed 56 people were the only successful Islamist attacks in Britain so far. But police have foiled several other plots. To manufacture the poison ricin in 2003, to plant crude fertilizer bombs in 2004, and in 2006 to blow up several planes. But what attracts young British men to violent political Islam? For a start, say critics, the British government was too tolerant for too long of radical Muslim preachers. Also, many of Britain's Muslims live in insular communities, far less integrated than, for example, Muslims in the United States, but still connected, if not to British society, to their computers, where they find like-minded radicals and virtual terrorism training manuals. It scares everyone, especially moderate Muslim leaders.
They pick up most of that from the internet, because what we teach to the children in the mosque, totally different.
Unless Britain can find a way somehow of winning the allegiance of these angry young men, the country faces what one American security expert called an era of YouTube terrorism. Elizabeth Palmer, CBS News, London.
While British authorities were dealing with a real threat, a big portion of Boston was brought to a stop today by a threat that wasn't. Highways, bridges, and part of the Charles River were shut down as bomb squads checked out 9 electronic devices that were planted all over town. Only later did they learn that the devices, complete with blinking lights, were part of a promotion for the Cartoon Network. Its parent company, Turner Broadcasting, apologized for the mix-up, and it turns out these same electronic advertising devices have been placed in 9 other cities around the country without incident. In Washington today, U.S. efforts to rebuild Iraq came under the microscope. To date, American taxpayers have spent $21 billion on reconstruction projects, and a new audit raises serious red flags about where that money went. David Martin is at the Pentagon tonight. David, it doesn't look like taxpayers are getting their money's worth, does it?
That's right, Katie. $21 billion for reconstruction, and neither the American taxpayer nor the Iraqi people got anywhere near what that kind of money should buy.
That's the bottom line of a massive new Inspector General's report covering more than 13,000 different projects, everything from schools to oil pipelines.
In terms of facilities that are operational, it's hard to say that there's been an improvement.
As both the report and Deborah Avant of George Washington University point out, there's less electricity now than before the invasion, despite $4 billion spent on the electrical grid. Oil production, the backbone of the Iraqi economy, which was supposed to pay the reconstruction bills, also remains below pre-war levels. By the Inspector General's estimate, $16 billion in potential oil revenues have been lost through a combination of violence, incompetence, and corruption. Much of the reconstruction was done under extremely dangerous conditions. Some 800 workers have been killed. But Democratic Congressman Henry Waxman says there's more to it than that.
The small percentage that have been audited indicates a great deal of waste, fraud, and abuse of taxpayers' dollars.
A $75 million Iraq police academy where raw sewage drips from improperly sealed pipes. Or $43 million spent on a camp for police trainers that was never used. That's what happens, Avant says, when there is no quality control by the government officials who award the contracts.
Having personnel in the U.S. government who are supposed to be overseeing contracts, who don't even know that they're supposed to be overseeing contracts, is a big problem.
Reconstruction is a big part of the president's new strategy on Iraq, but military commanders are already complaining the deployment of civilian reconstruction teams is running months behind the surge of combat troops. Katie?
And David, do you think this news will make it less likely that Congress will give the president the new reconstruction money he's now asking for?
Well, he's expected to ask for $1.2 billion more, and there are undoubtedly members of Congress who will call that throwing good money after bad. But, Katie, without reconstruction, there's no point in sending the troops.
David Martin at the Pentagon tonight. Thanks, David. Meanwhile, the U.S. economy is picking up after growing just 2% in the third quarter of last year. It gained strength in the final quarter, growing 3.5%. In New York, to talk up the economy, President Bush surprised traders at the stock exchange by dropping by for an unannounced visit. Earlier, the chief executive challenged corporate America to cut those, quote, over-the-top executive salaries and perks, saying CEOs should be paid based on how well their stock performs. It sure isn't easy running for president these days. Case in point, Senator Joe Biden of Delaware today became the latest Democrat to announce via the internet that he's in. But the announcement was soon followed by an apology. Our national political correspondent Gloria Borger is in Washington. Gloria, this was not a good day for Joe Biden, was it?
No, it really wasn't, Katie. This morning, the senator used the internet to introduce his presidential campaign the way he really wanted to. But tonight, his campaign is doing damage control.
I filed the necessary papers to be.
But within hours, this audio tape of an interview he gave to the New York Observer talking about Barack Obama was all over the web.
I mean, you got the first sort of mainstream African American who was articulate and bright and clean and nice-looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook, man. Yeah.
Some people listening to those descriptions of Obama, articulate, clean, heard racial overtones, or at the very least, condescension. Biden called Obama and apologized. Biden said he used the word clean to describe Obama as fresh and new. Obama said he was not personally offended, but he clearly bristled at being called articulate, as if that were somehow surprising. In a statement, he defended previous African-American presidential candidates. Jesse Jackson, Shirley Chisholm, Carol Moseley Braun, and Al Sharpton gave a voice to many important issues, and no one would call them inarticulate.
Sources close to Biden say they've warned him repeatedly about his big mouth. As one said to me, hopefully he got his stupid mistake out of the way early. Katie.
So, Gloria, are we going to be spending the next 2 years watching candidates get in trouble on the internet?
Get ready. I'm afraid that we are. Of course, in the day of YouTube, every movement of every candidate is going to be chronicled, both for better and for worse. And this time, we've got plenty of candidates, and there is unlimited space for them to talk on the internet.
All right, Gloria Borger, thank you. We've got much more news ahead. Coming up next, CBS News in Focus. Where have all the fish gone, and can we get them back? And later, why air pollution is hitting women right in the heart. CBS News in Focus tonight, our oceans. Something strange is happening off the coast of California. The fish are vanishing. What's causing this? In Morro Bay, both fishermen and conservationists are searching for answers. A lot is at stake, including jobs. Jerry Bone concludes our series, Troubled Waters.
The boats still come into Morro Bay on California's central coast. But the catch of the day just isn't what it used to be, not even close.
Well, 20 years ago, we used to unload, nearly 500,000 pounds a month across this dock. As compared with this year, we're lucky to unload a couple thousand pounds a month, if any at all.
Many factors are involved, ocean pollution to overfishing. A half dozen species that used to be caught for market have been depleted.
There you go. Thank you. Have a good day.
These days, the most promising catch is the two-legged variety, tourists.
We've changed our focus on not so much unloading of fish, but, feeding the tourists when they come here.
There are fewer fish and also fewer boats going after them. Nearly all of Morro Bay's big bottom trawlers are out of business, bought out by the Nature Conservancy in an effort to spare the seafloor from further damage by the massive nets.
One solution for the ailing Pacific is to simply leave it alone, to heal itself. That's what's being tried off Southern California's Channel Islands, and scientists are just now getting an indication of how the patient is doing.
It's a lot like flying an airplane.
With a joystick guiding a camera-equipped submersible, California State marine biologist Konstantin Karpov looks for initial signs of a comeback in a marine protected area, essentially an underwater park off limits to commercial and sport fishing.
For example, the giant sea bass. They were protected decades ago, and here we're starting to see them at numbers that are exciting.
California is moving to establish 29 new reserves off the Central Coast. That's in addition to nearly 4 million acres already off limits to the destructive bottom trawlers. Marine protection areas have long been in place along much of America's eastern and southern coast. The theory is that left alone, the fish will become abundant inside and outside the no-fishing zones. Back in Morro Bay, many fishermen aren't convinced. They believe both the problems and the solutions are exaggerated. For them, the ocean seems to be getting smaller.
Whether or not we're going to continue to make a living, I'm not sure. We'll just have to see how that all plays out.
If the science is right, less fishing today may mean more fish in the sea tomorrow. Problem is, this tomorrow may be decades away. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Morro Bay, California.
Well, tomorrow is going to be a stormy one in the southeast, and Delta Airlines is not taking any chances. It's canceled 200 flights for tonight and tomorrow. Ice, snow, and sleet are expected in Georgia, the Carolinas, and Virginia. Delta started moving planes out of Atlanta so they won't have to be de-iced tomorrow. Coming up next, can bad air cause bad hearts? If you're a woman, the answer may be yes. But first, CBS News honors American heroes. Travis Van Zoost, an avid hunter, before leaving for Afghanistan, he bagged a razorback pig and was very proud. Engaged to his high school sweetheart, Kesia, Van Zoost was killed by a roadside bomb. In one of his last emails, he wrote about sharing candy with Afghan children. He told his 9-year-old brother Tyler, "Don't be jealous, you're still my little bro." Van Zoost would have turned 22 today. There's a new clue tonight to why heart disease and stroke together are the #1 killer of women. They claim more than 460,000 lives every year. And a surprising new study suggests air pollution is a prime suspect. Here's our medical correspondent, Dr. John LaPook.
Home may be where the heart is, but a new study says where you call home has serious consequences for your heart, especially for women living in areas with poor air quality.
Well, it was really a surprise to see that the effects of air pollution were as large as they were.
Researchers followed nearly 66,000 women who were past menopause and had no history of heart disease. They found the higher the level of air pollution, the greater the risk of developing a heart problem or stroke.
It's important because it points to the fact that environmental factors are related to heart disease, and that pollution is something that we all have to be concerned about.
Carrie Mitchell lives in Niagara, New York, an area notorious for poor air quality. She wonders if air pollution could have contributed to her clogged arteries.
I definitely feel that pollution is a part of it. If it affects your breathing, then certainly it's going to have an effect on your heart.
This is the type of pollution that comes from the combustion of gases such as gasoline, diesel fuel, and also it's what's typically found in smog.
When dirty air is inhaled, invisible pollutants can become embedded in the lungs or travel through the bloodstream. There, they may harden arteries or cause inflammation, leading to heart disease or stroke.
We know that if you improve the quality of the environment and the air that we breathe in, that there can be a very quick and dramatic reversal in the risk of heart disease.
Something to remember, air that looks clean may not be safe because these particles are microscopic. This report certainly raises questions about whether federal air quality standards are strict enough. Katie?
All right, John, fascinating and disturbing. Thank you so much. Coming up next, much ado about something, how a teacher got his inner city kids to fall in love with Shakespeare. Some sad news tonight. Author and syndicated columnist Molly Ivins has died. She was a tough-talking Texan who called him as she saw him. She struggled with breast cancer for many years. Molly Ivins was 62. And finally, usually when we talk about education in this country, it's about why Johnny can't read or write or do simple math. But we end tonight with something different. A classroom where kids are learning and loving it. They have a teacher's teacher. And with Bill Whitaker's help, you're about to see him in action.
It's only 6:15 a.m., nearly 2 hours before school begins.
Hey, you guys.
And Rafe Esquith is already at work, giving extra help to his 5th grade students.
Exactly. And Dave, will you collect the essays?
It's a typical day in room 56, but you soon realize...
I thought we'd warm up before we do any Shakespeare.
...that room 56...
I need 37 plays.
...is anything but typical.
Richard II?
Richard II.
2 minutes, Verona.
2... Everybody? Two gentlemen of Verona. The key to this classroom, if you look around, there's no teacher's desk in here. Desks are for sitting, and I'm not paid to sit.
He's a 52-year-old maestro in motion, on a mission to make sure his inner-city students not only are not left behind, but soar ahead.
Fantastic! High five! So why do you care so much? I care because I'm angry. I mean, this is supposed to be a land of equal opportunity, and it's not.
While too many LA students struggle to read at grade level, these students are devouring the classics.
Then I set to thinking over how
When they read of Huck Finn's dilemma, whether to turn in runaway slave Jim or break the law, they get it.
I told you, it's powerful stuff. The average reading score at our school last year was like 29% or something. This class was in the high 80s.
He makes us understand that work is not only hard to do, but it's also fun.
If I want those children to work hard, then I better be the hardest worker they ever saw.
And he is. He just wrote a book about his experiences in the classroom.
Boys and girls?
He even comes in Saturdays to help former students with SAT preps. And if that weren't enough, his current class, like all his classes for 2 decades, learn music, polish moves, for their one-of-a-kind rock performance of Shakespeare. This year, Macbeth, the entire play, with perhaps the smallest, certainly the cutest Macbeth ever.
Hello?
No less an authority than Sir Ian McKellen, who has played a bit of Shakespeare himself, marvels at what they do.
You understand every single word, and that couldn't be said of all actors who do Shakespeare.
Our Shakespeare play takes a year of their lives, a year where they give up television, but they're so happy doing it, they all think it's worth it. The class motto is, be nice, work hard. And just take a look around the room to see where that has taken some of these students. Long arms, long arms.
Places most never dreamed of before entering room 56. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Now that's a great story. And that's the CBS Evening News. I'm Katie Couric. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
CBS News. See it now, anytime, anywhere.